It's the 4th of September and I'm Tom Glass and welcome to The Roast. Tonight we look at sexism and misogyny in the video game industry, where apparently MMO stands for massively men only and women are being relegated to non-player characters. You know, life as a female non-playable character isn't so bad, actually. You get to sell some armor or some potions and maybe ask a male character to go fetch you 10 of something, and because that's a... So I got nothing. And I'm sure there are good things. Here's Mark Humphries with the headlines. No, sometimes you get to be objectified. No, that's also bad. Sorry, I thought I had it.
Family First, the party that's produced such respected political figures as Steve Fielding, has had their new Senator Bob Day make his first speech in Parliament. There were the usual suspects in the Senate to witness the maiden speech. Some guy, some other guy, Santa Claus. But who is Bob Day? No, that's Bob Jane.
Bob Day, Senate.
That's Bob Day. And what side of politics does he sit on?
Mr. President, I'm a Conservative. Family First is a Conservative party. To paraphrase Oscar Wilde, only progressives become old-fashioned, Conservatives are always in fashion.
It's at this point I should remind you that Bob and Family First are opposed to same-sex marriage. I think Bob will be hard-pressed to find an Oscar Wilde quote to support that view. So let's see what a man who quotes a 19th century playwright has to say about education.
And whilst education has become society's mantra, forcing young people to stay on to Year 12 when they're clearly not enjoying it is both foolish and wrong.
Translation, to hell with school. Turns out Bob Day doesn't just look like Ferris Bueller, he thinks like him too. But school isn't the only youthful thing Bob's concerned about. He also wants to tackle youth unemployment.
But given the clear emergency that now exists with respect to youth unemployment, the time has surely come to allow young people who want to opt out of the workplace regulation system and allow them to work at rates of pay and under terms and conditions which they consider are best for them.
Translation, to hell with the minimum wage. So Bob's idea is uneducated youths being able to work for below minimum wage. If that sounds like it might not work, don't worry, Bob's done the research.
And what percentage of employers exploit young people anyway? Is it 1%, 5%? 10%?
I don't know, Bob. It's your idea. Seems like it's family first, fact check last. A safety investigation has found a group of school children were unknowingly the cause of a takeoff drama on a Qantas flight. I've said it before and I'll say it again. No more child pilots. Is that what happened?
The investigation found ground staff incorrectly assigned the children the adult weight of 87 kilograms instead of the 32 kilograms usually assigned to a child.
In defence of the ground staff, 87 kilograms is the average weight of a child on their way to school. For The Roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
Thank you, Mark. I actually have the exact same problem when I fly. I mean, sure, I'm small and youthful looking, but I'm also dense like a bag of sand or a good mud cake. To tonight's main story now, and computer games are in the news this week after death threats were levelled at game reviewer Anita Sarkeesian for her video series Tropes vs. Women in Video Games, which looks at misogyny in the gaming industry, exploring issues from the lack of interesting playable female characters to the sexualisation of almost all others. So obviously there is some serious lag in the gaming industry, and for once it's not because our internet speeds are rubbish. Because despite gamers in the United States being 47% female, you're still only able to dual-wield weapons, but not genders. And it's no surprise Miss Sarkeesian felt threatened. A video game was developed where users are encouraged to click on an image of her, which then becomes beaten and bruised. I'm guessing that's not what she meant when she said she wanted to see more women in games. So is it the entire gaming industry that's a problem, or is it just the most vocal? Well, luckily the Roast's video game program Great Game took a moment to file this review.
Next up, we're reviewing gaming culture.
Yes. Now, there's been a lot of backlash against gaming culture recently, with many people saying the experience is sexist.
Yeah, so let's start with the early levels.
You start as a newbie gamer, new to gaming culture, combating individual comments like the logic of how feminists target predominantly male spaces is very similar to the pattern of locust swarms.
Now, playing as a rational human being, your self-esteem will cop quite a hit.
Yes, I found this frustrating at first, and to be honest, I felt tempted to disengage almost immediately.
And the plot continues the same way as your experience level increases, and you move on to gaming journalism.
In this level, you explore the link between discussing misogyny in gaming and the barrage of rape and death threats.
Personally, I found those parts quite difficult to maneuver around emotionally.
We found things like these tweets particularly troubling. So troubling, in fact, that some players, like Anita Sarkeesian, said she contacted police and felt compelled to leave her home.
And since you're provided with no armour or weaponry, the only option for your character is to go AFK and then AFH. The H stands for house.
Yeah, it's weird how in a higher level where you draw attention to sexism and misogyny in the gaming industry, then you're attacked by enemies from the same forums in level 1. It's a major bug in gaming culture that I hope will get removed in future releases, as it really did hinder my enjoyment.
Interestingly, it was the final boss level where we had the most trouble, that being the industry itself. Here you managed to make it past the forum trolls and the death threats and actually make it into the industry, only to be told by the makers of Assassin's Creed that they had to cut the female assassins from the co-op mode because it's double the animations, double the voices, all that stuff, double the visual assets. I guess that's because female visual assets are harder to animate than a whale, an exploding ship, or an entire city.
Maybe Assassin's Creed could learn from GTA 5, where there are lots of female voices and female characters.
They're actually prostitutes.
Oh, that's right! GTA 5 didn't enable you to play as a woman.
Which felt like a weird limitation, particularly seeing as they bothered to make it possible to play as a dog. I guess the hardest thing about these boss levels is that the boss fails to even acknowledge that the female character exists.
Yeah, it's not so much a battle as just women shouting into the void, which just became a repetitive game mechanic.
And disheartening. As such, we've decided to give gaming culture a very dissatisfactory 0 chance of change until people stop getting death threats when they try and do something about it, out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, let's hope the coming iterations score a little better. Have you ever played a character in a video game that wasn't your gender? How weird was that? Did you turn into that gender because of that one game? I bet it just totally ruined your life. We'd love to hear about it. At the Roast TV or hashtag RoastTV.
It's too bad there's no cheat code for unlocking equality, but that'd be cheating. Now, despite the almost even gender split amongst gamers, the stats are pretty grim when it comes to female heroes in video games. A study into 669 action games from the last 7 years found that less than half of them had an option where you could play as a female lead, and there were only 24 games with female-only leads. Alex Lee joins us now. Alex, why don't we have the Super Mario sisters?
Tom, it's the same old vicious, boring cycle. Major publishers think games with women don't sell, so they don't make games with women. And for some reason, you can't sell something you didn't make, so those games you didn't make don't sell, which makes major publishers think games with women don't sell. Respawn, repeat. And what do developers hear when they try to make games with female protagonists?
We had some that said, well, we don't want to publish it because that's not going to succeed. You can't have a female character in games. It has to be a male character. Simple as that.
Yeah, those publishers are right. Alex, let me tell you a little something about women. I'm not one, so why should developers expect me to identify with one in a video game?
Tom, I know it's hard to imagine a human who doesn't have a penis.
Yeah.
But if male gamers can engage the same part of their brain that allows them to happily play as a monkey named Donkey, or a bunch of lollies, or a rectangle who is alone, or a plant, or a zombie, or a deck of cards that has superpowers, maybe it's not too much for publishers to expect them to imagine playing as a woman.
Maybe. But that monkey, Donkey, is a man. Like me.
Okay, fine. Then if you don't want to play as something you're not, you should stop playing most games altogether and only play as yourself, which for most people would be a game about a person who's playing games. So if you want to play as a guy with rippling muscles who can scale buildings in under 10 seconds, you better start eating nothing but skinless chicken and start training in the art of parkour. Or game developers could just get over that assumption that people don't want to play as women and add to the handful of great games out there that do feature female leads, like Mirror's Edge, The Last of Us, or even The Walking Dead, where you can play as an 11-year-old girl and oh my god, Tom, are you eating raw chicken?
No, I certainly am. This way you don't lose all the nutrients. Now, time to parkour. Jump. Ninja flip. Oh. Oh, I forgot to double jump. Ah. Oh, no. What? Hey. Oh. I'll just try The Walking Dead instead. Hey, this is actually pretty damn good.